Hello and welcome back to the official Scottish Rugby podcast. On the show this week, I sit down with Scotland Sevens head coach Ciaran Beattie. Mossy and I reflect on Scotland Women, Glasgow and Edinburgh. Plus, we get Big Al on the phone from Glasgow. So Mossy, you've just come along the M8, as have I. I've been at Ravenscraig with Ciaran Beattie this morning. What were you up to at Glasgow Warriors this morning, Mossy?
Yeah, Warriors this morning, Tuesday. So just catching up with the kickers, and it was pretty wet and miserable, as you say, in the M8. But focus changes from Europe to back to Guinness Pro 14 this week. So Glasgow home to Leinster and Edinburgh away to Munster.
What's the mood like? The camp day all right after the weekend?
Frustrated after the weekend, I think, in a number of ways. Just the good parts to the first half. Good to go in half time the lead, but then kind of 10 minutes after half time, or about 12 minutes straight after half time, was frustrating in terms of how they played and some of the decisions they made and some of the errors they made. But frustration really that it became a result. It was 34-18 to Exeter from a winning position at half time. It's quite frustrating.
I think Hoggy talked about it was a bit of a strange game for him, but it was a bit of a strange game for Glasgow. You're leading at half time and then it just seems to be a total shift in the second half. What was it Exeter did well in the second half, or what would Glasgow not do?
Well, they're a good side for start with. Exeter, they're very physical. Said that last week. They look after possession well, but they control the territory better. If you've got a platform to do that, it's easier. But they had say if I work with the kickers. So if you look at the kind of kickers, for example, Henry Slade hit 2 or 3 really nice kicks, as did Simmons at 10. Henry Slade was 13. Hoggy kicks well for fullback. So there's 3 focus points to try and cover, and they, with the possession they had in the territory they were able to keep applying pressure through territory in Glasgow. And Glasgow like to look to try and play out and as much as they can, which suits them. But some really good decisions and then some poor execution from skill. It was wet. They were playing into a wind in the second half, so it wasn't as easy to get out as it maybe looked on the TV. But and likewise some poor decisions. Frustrating really. But 1 win, 1 loss from the opening 2 weeks. The win came at home, obviously, and they've got La Rochelle to play in the doubleheader in 2 weeks' time.
Sticking with Glasgow, that's where Al is again this week, so I think we'll just try and call him, so we'll get him on the podcast, because he's missing out big time. So let's try and get him on the phone now.
He's not really missing out, is he?
Well, just what
I just want to make out to him that he's missing out.
Aye.
Think he'll answer.
This is the mark of the man, isn't it? He'll make us wait. Next ring.
No, there's no chance. He's in another meeting or a course maybe. He likes a course, does Al.
Hello.
Oh, there he is. Big Al, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. You're early, so I'm not ready.
Well, we are live. Please do not swear. We're talking about Glasgow there, and I thought, do you know what? This is a great link. I know you like my links to get you back in the podcast. How are you? Where are you?
I'm terrific, but you're going to have to phone me back.
How?
Because I can't speak right now. So I'm standing with somebody.
Right. So we'll phone you back in 10 minutes.
Perfect.
Right.
Thanks.
Cheers, Al. Great insight. You mentioned Leinster. That's the next challenge for Glasgow. What have you made of them so far? They've been good, haven't they?
They've been really good again. They're clear at the top of the Conference A. They're, I think, 11 points clear or something. And they've not had a huge amount of game time from their internationalists returning from the World Cup, but they're so strong. Their squad's so deep. They're able to still win and win well. Won in Europe as well. So that the usual really from Leinster. You know it's going to be an attritional affair. You know they're going to have a big influence on how the game's played. But they're away from home. I think they will choose a pretty strong side because, as I said, a lot of their returning players haven't really featured for them. Gary Ringrose and Johnny Sexton, these guys are just in. They've only really had 1 game, so I expect they'll come to Scotland fully loaded on Saturday. It's a brilliant opportunity for Glasgow to get back in the Guinness Pro 14. Last two games were solid victories against Kings and Zebra, so lesser opposition in many ways than Leinster, but the opportunity at home is the Saturday night, actually 7:35 Saturday night this week. So Glasgow will have to improve on some of their early form in the Pro 14, but he was hoping they can give Leinster the run and a bit of payback from the final last year.
Yeah, and it's always Leinster, whether it's home or away, it's always a tough game. Do you think Dave will make a number of changes or keep it the same as last weekend?
It'll just depend on who's fit. There's one or two knocks and bumps last week, obviously. Lost a couple to injury in the game, didn't it? Ratu went off, and then DTH went off. One or two others as well. So we'll see who's fit and who's firing. But actually, there'll be a bit of needle. There's two top quality sides, and you'll get a level of performance for Leinster that demands a high level of performance from Glasgow. But Glasgow's home form over the last few years has been excellent, and he was hoping it continues on Saturday. I think it can.
Let's look at Edinburgh now. They must be, I think, frustrated with the draw. I mean, it was a late penalty for Bordeaux to draw that game 16-16. How do you sum up that game?
Well, the first half was funny because it was actually not a lot happened. There was one opportunity, and it was 34th minute or whenever it was when Blair scored, and it was a really good opportunity taken by Blair. Kinghorn raced in from kind of 40 metres out after some excellent work from a turnover, and that was it for either side. There wasn't even half an opportunity or a sniff. It was, which makes it sound boring in the first half, and it kind of was to a certain extent, but I would sum it up, it was a proper European fixture. Some club sides in the Challenge Cup maybe don't take it as seriously as they should, or other teams do, but that was two teams that really went after that competition with a view to obviously winning the game and giving it their all. And Bordeaux were excellent. They were good. Edinburgh, saying that, should have won. They were in a leading position. And they were 13-3 up at one point. But Bordeaux absolutely threw everything out in the second half. So it became a complete contrast in the second half than the first half. The first half was quite controlled and quite slow, really, in some ways, although high quality. The second half was absolute chaos. It was mayhem. There was mistakes one side to the other, a massive amount of physicality, and it ended up a draw with, well, was it 2 or 3 minutes from time? Jalibert, the Bordeaux number 10, kicked a penalty from 40 plus metres. I think it only got about 6 inches above the height of the bar the whole way. It wasn't a great strike, but to hit a kick from so far out without it being a perfect strike shows you the talent of the guy. And it was, a weird kind of feeling at the end to end 16-all. Because it's away from home for Bordeaux, it's probably a better result, and because Edinburgh are in a winning position a couple of occasions, it probably felt like a better result for Bordeaux than it did for Edinburgh. You mentioned the ball only went over the bar by about 6 inches. Can you still do the old-fashioned time where you could have a guy under the sticks and you could lift him up? No, I think they changed that. Because that was it's Claremont that did it against Glasgow. So kicking a penalty, I think it was Olivier Magna, I think, who was involved. So a long range penalty, they would make almost like a line out lifting pod underneath the bar and stop it going over. I think that's obsolete now. Is it? I always enjoyed that. It was quite because it's a defensive move for a kick, but you can't charge down a penalty. No, you can't. No, you can charge in conversion. So in theory, could you then do that lift only in a conversion? Well, I think you can obviously catch a kick that's fallen short. So I don't think it's so much the. I don't actually know. I think from memory, I mean, that must be 15 years ago or something, probably more. There was certainly a hoo-ha around it, and I think if it hadn't been changed, we would see it more often. But I think the problem was that people were trying to like bat the ball back over the crossbar. Yeah, so it'd gone over, but it was like a rebound. Yeah, but anything short of the bar, I suppose you can get, but it's. I don't know, it's a risk to put a lifting pod there, but did anyone look into that, Jamie? I just had a memory there of. Did anyone ever try that one of your kicks? No, not from memory. No. I remember playing against Toulouse once where Jean-Baptiste Elassard, the scrum half, had opted to kick at goal, but noticed that his winger, I think it was Vincent Clerc, was completely free, and he kind of deliberately spooned an attempt out to the right hand touch flag as a crossfield. Yeah, for Vincent Clerc to score, but the referee said, no, you can't do that. So he's got brought back, obviously. So you can't do that. It was so obviously like a change of heart, and he opted to kick at the goal, so he had to give his best effort at goal, no hit the cross kick to Clerc, but never been kind of stopped by a lifting pod in the goal. Random thought there. Blair was man of the match though, so anyone else in Edinburgh stand out for you? Try to think back to the game. Blair was good. I can't think off the top of my head. It was more like a cohesive performance. the line-out struggled in the first 4 line-outs, and Edinburgh fixed that. The scrum was pretty good, was really quite good. Probably more the Bordeaux fullback, Buros, stood out for me. Edinburgh kicked a lot and he dealt with everything. Randra, the kind of flying Fijian, scored the try, but those are, well, certainly the fullback for me would have been the one that caught my eye, the Bordeaux fullback.
So Mossy, up next for Edinburgh, it's a trip to Limerick for Munster away. It's always a tough place to go, and how have they been going so far?
Well, they drew with Finn's Racing at the weekend at Thomond Park at home. They're top of Conference B and the Guinness Pro 14 at the moment, 24 points above Scarlets in second. So they're definitely a tough nut to crack. Edinburgh are third in Conference B, so it's first versus third in that conference, which would be important if Edinburgh could get a win for qualification. Obviously the top 3 qualify at the end of the regular season. So when you're playing teams in your own conference, it becomes, especially above you, it can be really kind of influential on your pool position. And Munster are they're pretty good. They've added to their coaching staff. Van Graham obviously continues as head coach, but Stephen Larkin's joined them, and Graham Roundtree's joined them. So they've got a lot of quality, a lot of experience. And I actually thought they were a wee bit Munster of old at the weekend against Racing in some ways, but that allowed them to stay in the game when Racing had periods of kind of domination. So it'll be a real tough nut to crack. The 1 or 2 injuries themselves and returning Irish players as well, but it's a big opportunity for Edinburgh to go to Munster and try and beat the top team in the conference.
Come in, Big Al. Do you copy?
Hello.
Big Al, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Jamie. How are you?
Good. Where are you?
I'm in Glasgow.
I thought you might be. What have you been up to? We're missing you through here in Edinburgh.
Yeah, so what have I been up to? I was at a women's game on Sunday. Watched the Glasgow game from up here. But yeah, busy. Yeah, no, I'm just sitting with Moss. We're just reflecting on the weekend's games. What did you did you get a chance to see any Glasgow stuff in the weekend, Al? Yeah, I watched the Glasgow game. Good first half, and then they just controlled it better in the second half. Took their opportunity at the beginning of the second half, gave them a bit of momentum. Interesting seeing Stuart Hogg running around with a different jersey on his back, but disappointing for Glasgow because it was, especially after the first half, there was an opportunity there, but I suppose credit to Exeter for the way they grabbed it in the second half. Yeah, and you said you were at the women's game as well. I think I saw you there. You were with your wee girl. Did she have a good time? Did she enjoy the game? She did. She came down afterwards. I was working at the Glasgow game the women's game beforehand. The women's game was brilliant. The atmosphere was terrific. It was a brilliant game of rugby. It was just really disappointing just to the very, very end to lose it. Scotland, for me, attacking wise, played the best rugby I've seen them play. Just didn't quite control the game at the key points. The speed of the ball that the Japanese were getting was incredible. It's very hard to defend against any team when the ball's that quick, and unfortunately I think that was the downfall in the end. Yeah, but there seemed to be quite the crowd were really into it though, and there seems to be a bit of an environment being created at Scotstoun. You've played at Scotstoun for the Warriors. How nice is it now that you're seeing Scotstoun adapt and embrace the Scotland women team? Yeah, Scotland played here for a couple of years now, and I think whenever Glasgow aren't here, it very much becomes the home of the women's team. The crowd was great. The crowd was vocal, engaged. It was a good game of rugby to watch. You could understand why they were into it. You speak to any of the girls that are playing in the team, they enjoy Scotstoun. I'm sure they would love to fill Scotstoun, and we'll push towards that as the Six Nations comes in. But yeah, it's a place where they're enjoying playing. The last 2 results haven't gone their way, so that'll be the key factor, is to try and make sure that they're winning these home games. And just
on that, I watched the game as well. I watched it online, and I thought it was one of the best games of women's rugby I've seen, in terms of the speed and intensity, the fitness levels, the skill execution. I really enjoyed it as a spectacle, and I thought Japan were brilliant. The Scotland obviously scored within the opening kind of 2 minutes, the first couple of minutes. And for a team away from home to concede so early, such a good try from Scotland as well, it never shook the confidence of the Japanese team, and they just kind of went back to doing what they'd done in the kind of first few seconds of the game when they had possession. And their first 2 tries are outstanding. The second try in particular was brilliant, and then they fell behind, and I thought Scotland had the the bit between their teeth, and they went 2 tries ahead, was it 20 points to 10 with about 10-15 minutes to go, and Japan just stuck to what they were doing the whole time, didn't panic. And for a team who's not played a lot of 15s rugby and that kind of environment, the trust that they had and the skill execution they had and what they were trying to do was excellent. I just loved the fact that they were going to keep playing regardless of what was happening in front of them. And it was less structured in some ways, because it was more open and free, but I thought it really suited how Japan play. And I think, although we lost the game, I think we can learn a wee bit from how Japan played as well, because I think that style would and does suit Scotland as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the game was pretty even. And when Scotland dominated, they dominated because they won the collision area, so they stopped Japan getting quick ball, or they starved the Japanese of possession. Whenever either team had the ball, both teams looked dangerous, and that was when you're 20 points to 10 up, if Scotland were able to starve the Japanese of the ball or win the territory battle at that stage, then it would have been hard for Japan to get back into it. So there's lessons to be learned for that last 10-15 minutes, but I agree, it was a great game of rugby. The Japanese were looking for the inside balls a lot and finding a few soft corners in the Scotland defence, and that again will be a work on. But in comparison to the week before, the Scotland performance was much up. The dangerous players got onto the ball and went forward. I've got to say, Lisa Coburn at loose head prop, I don't know how many tackles she made, but it was well into the double figures. Her work ethic was phenomenal. Rachel Malcolm playing a hooker out of position was exactly the same. So there's plenty of positives, but ultimately they were absolutely gutted at the end of the game because they didn't manage to get the win.
Hannah Smith did well, a few of them did well, but some of the breaks and some of the influence she had as well, like with ball in hand, was excellent. But I suppose, Al, there was a total contrast between the Japan game and the Wales game, and do you think the Northern Hemisphere and the Six Nations, do you think they just kind of fall into a system that's almost expected, and then when you play a Southern Hemisphere team like that, it was completely different, chalk and cheese between the kind of tempo and the organisation style of the first week against Wales and the second week against Japan?
Yeah, so it's difficult to know whether it's because it was different opposition or the way we saw Scotland playing against Japanese on Sunday is the way that the coaching team wants them to play, because the first game wasn't. The first game was definitely falling into the trap of playing against an opposition and playing to that style. Whereas a week to work on things, or a few days to work on things post the game, saw them playing a faster, slightly less structure. That's a funny term because, as we've talked about before, there's always structure there. But the way Scotland played, the way they threatened with quick ball, and we chatted during the week, Chris, about some of the kicking. I thought that Scotland kicked. They kicked a lot more, and most of the time kicked. It was better quality kicks, but then you give them possession. The possession, and they
kept it. They just held on to it.
They ran from everywhere. They ran from absolutely everywhere.
When you guys when you played against Southern Hemisphere teams, I think Al, you've been to Fiji, Samoa, you've played against Australia and New Zealand. Like, what's it like for you guys? Like, is it a different type of game? Do you know since it starts, this just feels different? Are you when you're tired? Are you different? Is it a different tiredness? What's it like?
That's what Scotland need to own. They need to just own the game. So I still remember years and years ago, one of my first games against New Zealand, and Big Scott Murray talking about the fact that this is no different. They will play slightly differently, but what we need to bring is no different to what we should bring in every single test match. Let's not get to half time and realise that these guys are beatable. And I'd like to see, I think if there's learners out the last two games for the Scotland, when they controlled the game and played the way they wanted to play, then they were really dangerous. And that goes back to Chris's point. Let's not make sure we get dragged into how we're perceived to meant to play against certain opposition. Let's find our own brand. Yes, we can change that and have subtle changes depending on who we're playing, but find our own brand and stick to it.
I think it's different when you play Southern Hemisphere because the context is different. Like, we play Northern Hemisphere teams in the Six Nations mainly, and most of the time we play Southern Hemisphere, it's effectively friendlies, so an Autumn Test or Summer Tour, and ultimately friendlies outside World Cup, obviously. So I think it's difficult to compare and contrast because it's a different context of the game. But certainly it does feel different. It feels slightly quicker in some ways. Not all the games, not exclusively quicker, but it does feel a little bit more there's more options available than when we play Northern Hemisphere teams. It seems to be there's one or two options, and you almost know what's happening, or you know what you're going to do, and you know each other so well. So it is slightly different, but I think because you don't play them in a championship all that often, it's probably difficult to contrast.
Yeah, and just finally, we were talking about the last kick for the Edinburgh game. Bordeaux went on to draw that game, and it was a kick that I think Mossy said went about 6 inches above the post. And I remembered then, back in the day, when you used to be able to contest that, so you'd almost have a line out underneath the posts. Did you ever do that as a player? Did you ever knock any balls back from a conversion?
Well, we tried it a couple of times. We went up against Selkirk. This was back playing for Scotland 20. I think it was Selkirk, and we went up, but the kick ended up missing. I don't know. You'd have to ask Mossy whether somebody standing under the post with a pod about to boost them up would put them off their kick in the slightest. I'd like to think it did, but he'll probably tell you it was nonsense.
Absolute nonsense. I've just got his fear. You get to set up 2 or 3 line-out pods with 5 or 6 people waiting to be lifted, and the ball comes back off the post, and the other team score. You've got to be aware.
Yeah.
You've got to be on your toes.
Yeah. It was a bit of theatre. I didn't think it was a bad rule.
They got rid of it, didn't it? It was scrapped, wasn't it? Was it Claremont, we were saying, did it against Glasgow famously? I think maybe Hughenden.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it was outlawed thereafter.
Was it? So that was the game.
Was that the game? Was it Jim McLaren's kick?
It was Jim. Aye.
Big jump from about the halfway line.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. No, just a random thought I had. Listen, Al, I know you've got to go off into another meeting. You're a busy man, but we were keen to get you back in the podcast. Hopefully, we'll get you back in the studio. Are you around next week? Are you in Glasgow? Do you know yet what you're doing?
Jamie, if you stop changing what day we're meant to be doing it, then I'm around. I've had this in my diary for 3 weeks, and you change it to the Tuesday.
It's a movable feast. This. It just you just need.
I know.
But
I know. We'll fit in with you. But I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Right. Cheers for the call,
Cheers,
Al, and all the best.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Cheers. Well, we're here at Ravenscraig, the home of Scotland Sevens, and I'm sitting with Ciaran Beattie, the Scotland Sevens head coach. That title that you've got now, has it sunk in properly yet? You are the head coach in Scotland Sevens?
Jeez, no, not at all. It's I've not really made any secret about how excited I am about this role, and it's not really. I think when we get going, we get out in Dubai and we get into it and we get some performances, and maybe I'll feel like I can earn that title, but at the minute, no, it's still a bit of a dream.
Now, before we discuss that role in more detail and what's ahead for you as the head coach, I thought it'd be quite good to maybe go back a little bit and find out more about you and your journey here. So just talk us through, I think you're a Selkirk boy, you still stay there. You've got that commute at 5 in the morning to get through.
Yeah.
But how did it begin for you?
I mean, my mum's side's Gala for their sons. So I actually ended up, I think as a boy, I stood in the terraces at Netherdale. I don't think anyone at Selkirk knows that. So there you go. You can take that out of the podcast. I'll get hung, drawn and quartered in the town square. But I ended up there watching rugby. My mum's side, big rugby, and my dad's from the northeast, big Sunderland fan. And I just did lots of sport. And growing up in the Borders, it was, you were just pushed out the door and you had a ball in your hand, you were running, climbing trees, football, rugby. Quite liked athletics when I was younger, a bit of everything. There's probably more against my peers, probably more into the football down there, but I think peer pressure and town pressure, I ended up swaying towards rugby in high school, and never looked back really.
And you went on from high school to play, professional rugby. You played for Edinburgh for a time as well. You also played in the Commonwealth Games.
Yep.
When you look back at your Edinburgh time, I think you had a few injuries when you played at Edinburgh. What kind of memories stand out for you?
I was at the Borders for a bit, and I went through. I was with them when they fell through. That was really heartbreaking. Being a Borderer, if I'm honest. I grew up with. That was where I wanted to be. That was a real kind of idolisation of mine. I remember my first training session there. Things were different then. I was in the first ever academy, and the academy guys just trained with the pro teams, and it was just fantastic. I was a 15-year-old boy, and Gary Armstrong, Ian Fairley, and then they were the 2 9s. They had me as an academy 9, and then they had a young Chris Cussiter turn up, and I was looking at this going, Gary Armstrong, one of the world's best. He's maybe got a couple of years left, and then I can, step in and start challenging. A young guy, quite cocky. And then I turned up, and this guy, Chris Cussiter, young guy, and I'm thinking, he's got a bit about him. And he was absolutely brilliant, and he really put me away, to be honest. So that was great. I loved that environment. It was great being part of that. And then, as I said, it just fell through for reasons I'll never really understand. And then into Edinburgh, Rob Moffat gave me a call that day that the news got that we were folding, and Rob Moffat, who was coach at Edinburgh at the time, just got me in, and I'd been with him in the sevens previous, so it was a real lifeline, and I was really grateful for that, because I'd been constantly injured. I was constantly injured, and the fact he'd shown the faith in me to bring me on board at that point, despite my injuries, was a real confidence boost. And unfortunately, I couldn't repay that, and I never got back with the boots on. But it was funny time, not a kind of normal playing career, predominantly injured, predominantly physio. But I think there's a bit of mental resilience, mental toughness with that as well, that hopefully lends into my coaching. I've got a bit more empathy, hopefully, with injured players, I think, can hopefully sympathise with them a bit more.
You mentioned your time with Edinburgh, and it didn't maybe go to as any young aspiring player would hope. But was coaching always in the back of your mind? Was it always your ideal transition for you?
I trained as a teacher. As well. So I think that's something I've always, that sort of path at some stage, whether it was coaching or not. I think when you're young and you're aspiring to be the best player you can be, in all honesty, no matter, whilst I was trying to have something in the background, I always just was focused on rugby and playing. And then it was a bit of a cliff edge. Although I was constantly injured, I still had that belief that I would come back and play for Scotland and the Lions. And you then got pulled into the office and told, we've done everything we can, you've had all the operations, and that's it, you're done, and you're not going any further with this. And that was tough. It was a tough 6 months, in all honesty. You kind of fall off. It does feel like a bit of a cliff edge. You're suddenly, everything your life's geared towards. Every decision was focused around playing for Scotland, winning for Scotland, and then suddenly, within a conversation, that's not there anymore. And it was a tough 6 months. I didn't really know what I was doing. Luckily, my home club, Selkirk, took me on board. There was a fortunate timing with a DO job down there, and it was good. Friends, family, club that I'm passionate about, really, really helping me through that. And then I fell into analysis. Gav Scott was the analyst for the Scotland team at that point, and it was a different age. The analysis isn't where it was now in my first game. So I came on board as a full-time analyst with Scotland. In my first game, Scotland were playing New Zealand, and I hadn't been at a training session. It was my first day on the job, Scotland, New Zealand, and Gav Scott, I was helping him out, and he went, can you just go turn on that laptop? And I went to turn it on. I was like, I don't know where the on button is. And he just looked at me and thought, oh God, this is going to take a bit of work. So a bit of hard graft, and we got there, and I did that, I think 5 years of that.
5 years.
5 years of that.
I met Dougie Fife outside, and he was saying his first game he ever had was in Dubai.
That's right.
And you were analysis.
That's right. I was analyst.
Remember that?
For his team. I was, yeah. We spoke about that. It was it was great. I felt like you asked me there, did I always think I was going to coaching? I didn't feel I had the experience to go into coaching at that point, because I hadn't played for as long. I still felt I was in my early 20s, and I still feel like I'm learning loads, but at that point I wanted to know more about the game, and I felt, although it's a different sort of route into coaching this, I feel like being the analyst allowed me exposure at an early age to the top level of the game, from the management side. So I'd had that exposure as a player, And then I had that exposure, having those conversations with coaches, different management staff about what it takes to perform at that level. So I did that for the Sevens, the national team for a long time, Edinburgh, Glasgow. And it was just a bank of knowledge. I was a fly on the wall. I felt like the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And it was just brilliant. I felt, because I knew I was probably wanting to go into something like this at some stage, I was taking it in. I wasn't letting it pass me by. And I loved it, in all honesty. The analysis, I did it because I had to, and that was the job, and I learnt loads from it. But the exposure to those environments were brilliant. So much fun, and loads of learning for me, and cherry picking off some of the best coaches in the world. And it got to the point, and I always laugh about this, and I've had this conversation with them. The point it came where I went, right, I'm going to move into coaching was, I did a year with the 20s. Sean Lenine was the head coach, and I went through the full year. And as an analyst, you're first up, last to bed. After a game, you're there till you work all through the night. So it's usually like a 12-hour shift as soon as the game's finished to try and turn everything round. So did a full Six Nations. We're in New Zealand for the World Cup, last game of the World Cup, and Sean said, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, breakfast, can we get everything, all the stats, booklet of stats, everything coded? Not a problem for me. That's my job, that's what I'll do. So I'm up all through the night. At 10 to 8, I'd been up all night, last game, 12 cans of Red Bull, keeping going. I'm running down to the printer to print everything off. The printer ran out of ink. 5 to 8, I'm running around the hotel, getting new ink cartridges. And 2 minutes past 8, Sean walks over at me going, where is everything? I said, it's just printing. It's coming. I'll be there in 30 seconds. Apologies. And this is as it's printing off. And he walks over at the printer, picks up the top sheet and looks at me and says, don't worry, I only ever look at this one anyway. At the end of the season. And I just thought, do you know what? This is someone else's job now. I'm done with this. And we flew back, and I got home, and I just was like, right, looked for a full-time coaching job.
Time for a change.
And that was it. Oh, it's time for a change. I've done my stint. I want to be the guy that picks up the paper and tells the analyst. That's all I look at. So.
And that's the role you're in now. You're in a head coach role.
Yeah.
With the Scotland Sevens. But you think you spent some time at Loughborough as well? Did you go down there and do some study?
So that was the gig. It was that night I got back, and there was just an advert online, and I knew nothing about it. I just chucked in a CV, trying to stay awake, still reeling from Sean's comments. I do say he's the man that made me, so he knows all this. And I got an interview and ended up going down there. My wife was pregnant at the time, and weirdly she just said, I'll come down with you, I'll take the day off, and didn't think anything about it, didn't think we'd get it. We're having our first child. We thought we'll obviously be in the borders, and there was just a really good feeling about it, and got the job. And my wife, massively supportive, just said, let's go down there, let's move down there. And never looked back. That was just an incredible experience down there, and just honestly, the learnings down there and the environment of that place was just awesome. And I'm still in touch with everybody down there. Yeah. Would happily go back there at some stage, just if I feel like I need to relearn and refocus. It was great, and great time for us. So, yeah.
What kind of are the main learnings, or what kind of stands out? What's your main takeaways from your time at Loughborough?
What I love about that place is it was filled with massively aspirational people, and whilst there was big financial backing for the facilities that are world class, the athletes, the coaches, everybody involved there was no drive of money. They're there because they want to be. They're there to study. They were student athletes and students first as well. So that was always top of the agenda, making sure they were on course with those things. So a holistic approach to coaching, which benefited their performance, I felt. Which, the environment was set up by that. But it was a learning I took was, if you make an individual happy, they get their life balance happy, and as a coach as well, as staff, if we get the balance right, then you're going to perform better. And in that whole environment, whether they were an athlete in the track, hockey, rugby, whatever, football, whatever they played at Loughborough, that was the focus, and that was this massive culture of learning off each other. I spent a bit of time working with Olympic swim athletes. I'm like a rock in the pool, but it was great. You're learning to your coaching and adapt your coaching to different athletes and environments, which you can bring back into your own. And it was cool. It was just constant learning, constant check and challenge, with the support of the guys above you to try these things as well. It was really cool, and perfect timing for me at my stage, where I felt confident, I felt like I knew it all, and then you suddenly realise how little you know, and it was good. It was really humbling, actually.
And what was next for you after Loughborough? Was it a return to Scotland, or did you stay in there for a bit?
No, so stayed down there for 3 years. I'd coached at Melrose before that as well, which was great. JD and Bob Christie, learning off them, and then down there, and then we came. Our second child was due, and there was a couple of job offers came up down there, and they were seen as progressions, further up the tree in Championship and Premiership, and I didn't want to take them, if I'm honest, because I felt like it'd be even more time out the house down there, wife and kids down in England without me there, and no support network. So whilst I was aspirational to kick on, I didn't want to do that at the detriment of the family. So we just made the decision to move back up, and it was a move into coach development back up here, Neil Graham and his team. And again, it was a different move, but you take a step back from it a bit. Coach development, you're talking with coaches, working with coaches, working at the top end. Then you work with guys doing primary and mini rugby, and actually you pick up some stuff, and you think you're a good coach, go coach P3s.
It's a different style of coaching, isn't it?
These guys just deserve a medal every Sunday. Just awesome. So that was humbling, and it was great learnings for me. But I knew I always wanted to get back into it. Mm-hmm. I just knew this was the thing I wanted to do. And Super 6 came, and did some time with a season with the women as well, which was awesome. Really good. Again, just different styles of coaching.
Yeah.
And into Super 6 for a brief period, and then here, and this was always the one. It was a really interesting thing, because I was good. I'm good mates with JD, and we knew this was coming up, and my wife and I, she's so supportive. She's the one that pushes me, and I'm the one that holds back a bit.
She's the driver, is she?
Oh man, yeah, she's awesome. I'm always a bit more like, the kids and want to support you a bit more, but she's just like, you gotta crack on. And I knew this was coming up, and I never even mentioned it, so it was advertised, and I didn't even put my name in the hat.
Did you not? Because I was going to ask you how you found out about the role.
Well, I knew, but I just started with Heriots. I was really happy there.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome club. We were getting the life balance, kind of, and then because it's Borders, it's a small place. JD's a Melrose man, and she was like, "Oh, JD's left the Sevens," and I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, it's your dream job. Are you not putting in for it?" And I said, "Oh, we've spoke about it. We've got kids this young age, and we're life balance at the minute." And she's like, "It's your dream job. You have to go for this." And we spoke about it, and then my arm didn't need twisted. Obviously, I was desperate to do it, and went for it, and with a real open mind, knowing that it was my dream job. I was loving what I was doing at Herriot, so excited by that, and then got the phone call, and disbelief, if I'm honest.
So who phoned you?
Gav Scott phoned me. It wasn't disbelief in terms of I'm confident, really confident I can do the job. I'm passionate about it, and it was just achieving it and really getting to that stage. It was a big milestone for me, and it was great. And it's worked out well for us. It allows us to plan effectively. It's a bit more structured. And
you know you're going to be away, you know when you're going to be here.
Yeah, put the kids to bed, you've got them at the weekends, and then blocks of time we're away. So it's actually working out really well for us as a family, which I'm happy about, and it ticks the box of being, this is what we want to do. And I said this is a massive dream of mine, but the dream's to be successful and thrive and have guys, the individuals within the programme thriving and achieving their goals. That's the dream. That's the dream.
You mentioned Heriots. We know you were involved with the coaching side in the Forest Rock Super 6. How difficult a decision was it for you to move away, and what was it like to have that discussion with them about this role?
In all honesty, they were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
They were so good. It was difficult for me in terms of I'm highly passionate about this, but I was loving what I was doing, really excited about Super 6. Loving Heriots. I thought they were just a fantastic club. I was so excited about where they were going. Some great people there.
You've been with your own team now for a number of weeks. How have you found the new role? What's it been like? What's been your impressions of the Sevens boys and the setup?
It's been because of the World Cup, we had half our guys were Edinburgh, half our guys were Glasgow. And initially, I had a bit of a fear of, all right, we're only going to get a short build-up. It's an Olympic year. I'm a new coach. So in an Olympic year, other teams are, they're hitting their top of their cycle. They're really hitting their stride. I'm a new coach. There's some new faces in here. Does that put us at a disadvantage? We then have a shorter build-up to other teams. Again, does that put us at a disadvantage? I then had the good fortune of getting in with Edinburgh and Glasgow during that period. Especially with Edinburgh, I was in with them quite a lot, did a bit of special skills coaching in there, and I was very quick to go, right, this is awesome. Thank goodness they're in. They're getting great advice, great different exposure, to different quality coaching. Yes, it's not Seven specific, but it didn't need to be. We were so far out from competition that actually them training with these world-class players, world-class coaches, world-class environments could only be a good thing. So it was very quick to go, this is fantastic. So it made my job easier in terms of, we've got a shorter Sevens build-up, but it allowed us to go, look, what do we need to do? What's the Sevens specific focus? They've done pre-season, they've done their fitness, they've done their contact, they've done their skills. It can be a real Sevens focus. I don't have to stress about that. I can stuff like from the Sevens point of view, you have to top up their high speed running ability. That's far more in Sevens. Sounds quite obvious, but in 15s there's a lot more. Whilst there might be as many high speed runs, there's a lot of break in between. Whereas here you could be doing a lot of repeat speed work. So we need to incorporate that into the training whilst getting Sevens structures and thought processes. So it's been cool. I mean, I loved it. I've thought about this, about what I was wanting to do if I ever had the reins here for forever. So some of my perceptions have changed when I've come in, and actually the reality hit and go, okay, this is the environment and this is what we need to do. But it's been really cool. I'm pleased with the fact I've managed to have the courage of my convictions with some of the things in terms of we're going to try a few things, a bit different. I don't know any other team that's doing some of the stuff we're doing. In terms of tactical stuff, just a couple of tweaks. But we've been really successful. You look back at JD and Kitty's reigns, they're a highly successful Scotland Sevens team. So, I can't add masses onto some of the skill sets that JD has. I'm just learning off of that. So, same with Kitty. So it's taking that on board and taking the good stuff they've done and adding a bit of what I've got, plus using the guys' knowledge that are in here.
And this is all gearing towards the first stop on the HSBC 7-star here with Dubai, and I think next weekend it all kind of kicks off, doesn't it? I think so. It's a 3-day tournament. Now look at the group though. It's a good group you've got. Tasty. Look at all the opposition you've got. How do you kind of sum up? How do you plan ahead for that first tournament?
It's difficult, the first one. I think it'll be easier as we go on, because teams will change less, whereas they've had a full off season. There's a couple of changes in personnel, and it's hard to identify what their traits are. Now, at the same time, being an analyst, I think this is where the analyst bit helps me. Is I did a lot of time where I would preview opposition, and then I would see coaches take that and they focus solely on that when you negate yourself, and other way round. Whereas I would see teams focus on themselves instead of going, look, if we focus a little bit on this, we can get some big wins, because that is their go-to. Whereas I hope I've got proofs in the pudding, but I hope I've got decent balance on that, going, if we focus on this one or two things of theirs, and this is the way we're wanting to play, so we really emphasise this area, then we hopefully can get big returns on that. I'm saying that, and I'll fall flat on my face at times. I've no doubt about that at all. But we know some of the traits of Australia historically, USA and Ireland. We played Ireland in Elsh, so we've got a bit of an understanding. They'll have a bit of an understanding about us. The good thing about us is we're obviously a new coach, so there will be slight differences. So if teams preview us from previous, hopefully we're showing a couple of different pictures, which makes us harder to look at. Whereas the other teams, as we say, because it's an Olympic cycle, they're maybe actually just refining how they're going to play, so they may become a bit easier to read. But at the end of the day, sevens is a far more difficult game to do that. It is just individuals there's a lot more space on the pitch, so things can turn really quickly and people just need to play. That's why having a big focus on yourself is probably more required, I think in sevens.
And you mentioned the Olympics. This is an Olympic sport now. Sevens is growing from strength to strength. When you think back to when you played sevens on the pitch, how has the game changed and developed?
I'm actually doing a bit of training with them sometimes. If we're trying to run, if we're in this game zone mentality and we're trying to run 14v14, I'll jump in with them, and I am the weak link. It's like pick on me day. I try really hard. It is just a different athlete. If I compare the two, absolutely different athlete. The pace, the intensity, almost like what we've seen in Super 6. When we go back to that conversation, everything's just progressed. The skill level, I do feel like that, and the contextual awareness of players now. Like, yes, we would think about the game, and we were maybe a bit more, because we didn't review our games as much or review trainings as much. We were a bit more instinctive in terms of natural play, and we just kind of read each other and played the game. Whereas now there's a bit more structure to it, but there's a bit more structure for a reason. The guys are far more contextually aware. That sounds like a big word and a real coachy word. It's not. It's just they're far more aware of what's going on. They're far more aware of the opposition, the people within their squad and their skill set, because of the data we now get, because of the review that the guys do. They're far more aware of everything that's going on, and that plays. So when we do these sort of game scenarios, everybody's aware of the time on the clock, what the score is, what the refs' traits,
game management.
Yeah, they're really, really switched on with that, and that's something, even as a halfback when I played in the sevens, it's not something I spoke about. It was just we just went and played, and the result was the result. We just played. We played rugby. We just tried to win the game. That was as much of the game management as we really thought about. So that's something that it's just a maturity of players. I think's evolved.
Have you set out any goals for yourself personally or for the team? What's your ambitions for this first year?
We would like to improve. I think I use that word thriving and improving quite a lot, because that's the bottom line. The programme is there to everyone within it, whether that be the physio, our kit manager, whoever. At the end of the day, and when we come to review the year, are we better? Are we better at our role? Are we a better person? Are we better within our job? Have we helped ourselves? Are we better as a person? And then off the back of that, the byproduct should be that the team has improved, and that's the ultimate aim. Are we better than when we started? So we're looking to be better than we were last year, and that's a tall order because the whole circuit is improving. I mean, it's just getting Ireland's now the 16th team, and they're just we've never beaten them. And that's the 16th team. It's 15th team now. It's just awesome. Massively competitive. You speak about that group in Dubai. I mean, wow. Australia, USA, Ireland. We could win. We could win all 3 games. We could lose all 3 games. Every team could beat each other, and that's a really exciting thing for me. So the bounce of ball could win or lose you a game, and we can look at it in terms of, do we improve in terms of our position? We finished 10th last year. It'd be great to finish higher, but if we can hand on heart say as a group we have taken strides forward, that'll suffice in some extent. Don't get me wrong, I would love to pick up some silverware. I think this team's good enough as well. That's what the boys want. That's what I want. I think it'd be a good measure of where we're at. I think we can do it, but it's also very fickle, Sevens. It's one of the boys actually spoke to me last year. They played in Sydney, and I think Hamilton. They finished 5th, so it was the best finish last year. And they went the following week to Sydney, got a spate of injuries, down to 9 men. They finished 13th, I think. Same squad, bar a couple of injuries. And I was just asked them, what happened there? What was the drop off? And they went, oh, no drop off. We actually felt like we played better. Just said, wow. Bounce the ball, adversity, we lost guys. Sevens is so brutal. This is just what happened. And it's fascinating, actually. It really hit me in terms of that Sevens. We need to focus on our controllables. And if we can focus on our processes, again, it sounds very coachy and like I'm dodging a question. It's not. It's just, it really hit me with that comment. It was like, let's focus on ourselves. Let's, at the end of the day, come off there going, win, lose or draw. Did we throw it all out there? Did we make ourselves proud? Did we do the badge justice? Then if we can say yes, great. And then did we win or lose the game? It sounds like I'm dodging a question there, but that's where we're at. That's what the boys are well aware of that as well. They're probably more experienced about that, knowing the fickleness of it. But oh God, I'd love to win something.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. Well, there's no denying how much you are relishing this new role, and there's no denying that you guys are all up for it. The boys are looking in good shape. You guys are ready to go. So from everyone at Scottish Rugby and beyond, we wish you all the best of luck in your new role.
Thank you.
And we'll all be watching.
Thank you. Cheers. I appreciate it. Good man.
Mossy, you can hear from me speaking to Ciaran there that you probably couldn't find a more passionate man for the Scotland Sevens job. Ciaran clearly loves Scotland Sevens, and he's really excited to get going. What do you expect from Scotland Sevens this year?
Well, Ciaran's great appointment. He knows Sevens inside out. He played a lot of Sevens. He grew up in a Sevens environment, really, in the Borders at Selkirk. Really good, sharp Sevens player himself, obviously, as it was a 15s player. It was really quick, Ciaran. He was built like me. He wasn't the biggest built fella in the earth, and he was just lightning quick as a scrum half. And then during the time he was with the Borders of the South, and then into Edinburgh a wee bit, he got 1 or 2 injuries, and he really focused on his conditioning. He became like a really stocky, strong guy. So his game kind of changed a wee bit, but an amazing Sevens player, so sharp, and then struggled with injuries. But his knowledge of the game is excellent. What do you expect for Sevens? Another hard season, and sometimes undoubtedly Sevens, the punch above their weight. It's such a, we said it all last year's podcast about it, such a harsh environment, a difficult environment, so demanding, but it's such a brilliant environment, not only for development but for achievement as well. You're asking players to front up when they're absolutely exhausted, to play big games. We spoke, I remember one of the earlier podcasts about the focus on day one. Sometimes the effort and energy to get into the cup, stay in the cup for day 2, is that great that day 2 is a lot more challenging, and then other times if you don't do particularly well on day 1, you've got to kind of have a better day 2 and you're fresh or whatever. So I think, what do you expect? I would like to see that becomes less, so you get a more consistent performance across the 2 days. So rather than have one good day and one poorer day, you can prepare and execute 2 good days. But with the standard and the ability of players involved in that World Series, it's really, really difficult. But we've got some experienced guys, we've got some newer, younger guys coming in.
They head out on Saturday to get ready for the Dubai circuit next week. Not a bad gig.
Like, joking apart, I played in Dubai, late 90s, and at that time we played Scotland Sevens, and then come back and play for Edinburgh and Glasgow. I think that the week and a half or 2 weeks in Dubai, being exposed to Sevens at that time of the year with the sun on your back, had a massive impact on my 15s performance. So when I came back kind of 2 weeks after, you were so fresh, so sharp, and it was just because you were exposed to different. It doesn't really happen now because you train more specifically for one or the other. But if any of these players do come back and are needed as they have been in the pro game, it genuinely, that boost, I think, physically, psychologically, it certainly helped me. And if they are needed, then it'd be great to come back and a bit of sun on your back and a bit of sevens under your belt and just flying all left, right and centre.
You guys coming back burnt?
Wasn't enough time for that, unfortunately.
Another good weekend of Fosrock Super 6 action. We're now 3 weeks in to the competition, and you look at the table last week compared to what it is now, it's completely different, isn't it, Mossy?
Big changes, isn't it? The consistent thing is Watsonians are up there, well. 3 wins from 3, leading the table with 14 points ahead of Ayrshire Bulls in second on 10, Boroughmuir Bears and Stirling both on 7. Heriot's probably the biggest fallers from the weekend. They lost and they go down to 5th place, and then the Southern Knights with 3 points at the bottom of the table. So yeah, it will fluctuate quite a lot, but you're beginning to see the kind of separation. Watsonians have got that knack of winning, don't they? They did it again. I was away on Sunday, so I watched the women's game online, and then I watched the Super 6 game online, the Watson Stirling County game. And Stirling were dominant, they were ahead, they were leading, and that was a gymnastics competition with my daughter. So about 10 minutes before the end of the game, that was the competition finished. So jumped in the car, drove back home, and then when I got home I checked the score and I couldn't believe it. I thought, how on earth did that happen? Because Stirling looked so dominant, they were so well organised, and I can't remember what the score was when I left. It was 22. Would it be 22-7 still? No, more than that. I think it was. Anyway, it ended up 34-22 to Watsonian. So the tries were excellent towards the end, but yeah, they've just got this knack of winning. They're quite physical, quite gnarly, and they deserve the place at the top of the table.
And Boroughmuir got their first win as well. They lost at home the first week to Stirling, but they managed to kick on and get their first win. But Southern Knights are still looking for that first victory in the Fosrock Super 6. What do you think needs to change for them?
Well, I'm not sure. I've not been through the whole game yet. I've seen some of it, not most of it. I see a big improvement on Ayr from week 1. We obviously covered that game, and then they've gone on to the 2 victories since then. So the Ayrshire Bulls definitely picked up, and there seems to be a lot of yellow cards across the games, and I think Southern Knights have maybe had 1 or 2 yellow cards themselves, which is never a great thing to get up and running. And that all teams actually have probably fluctuated their team selection quite a lot. So in the first 3 weeks, which is good, giving people opportunities. All the coaches said beforehand they would do that. So maybe the Southern Knights are just trying to find the right balance to their team, especially their backline. Their forwards are pretty combative and competitive. But the balance to the Southern Knights backline is probably what they'll be kind of focusing on this week. They play on Sunday, so they've got an extra day's recovery. They play Boroughmuir Bears on Sunday up in Edinburgh. So that'll be again another opportunity for the Southern Knights to get up and running. But I didn't see much of the Boroughmuir Heriot's game either, but it was obviously a cracker on Friday night. A lot of penalties kicked in that game, 34-31. as well. So the discipline, and that's maybe another thing in terms of the part-time professional. Physically, the training, the organisation, the strength, the conditioning is all part of kind of being more professional, but so is your discipline, and that looks like the one thing for me that still needs to be focused on and added to the game. So maybe what you get away with maybe in the Premiership once or twice will be picked up more so, or highlighted more so, or you'll be put under more pressure by the standard of the opposition or whatever. So the discipline thing, I think, is something that can certainly improve across the board. And if you're losing games, that's one of the first thing you have to focus on. Don't give the opposition the opportunity to get territory or get easy points.
So looking ahead to this weekend, Mossy, it's Head Stirling and Ayrshire Bulls Watsonians on the Saturday, and then our featured game, which is live on Scottish Rugby TV on Sunday at 2 p.m, is at Boroughmuir Bears against Southern Knights. Looking ahead to those fixtures, what do you make of that?
Well, I spoke about the table a couple of minutes ago and how, as the kind of weeks go on, you'll get a clearer picture. Tell you what, after this weekend, it could give you a clearer picture. Big weekend for Heriots. And you say play Stirling first up, and Heriots won their first game, really impressive away from home against the Ayrshire Bulls, and then lost at home to Watsonians, and then obviously lost at the weekend there as well away at Heriots. So Boroughmuir Bears. So big game for both the sides. Stirling, they're still on 7 points, Heriots on 6 points in that table, so that's a big shift in the table as well. I don't know how to call that one, to be honest. Without seeing the teams, I think it's probably a bigger game for Heriots than it is for Stirling at the moment. I know Stirling were disappointed to the way the game ended up on Saturday, but I think Heriots will, if they lose that, they kind of begin to lose touch a wee bit with the rest of the pack when they're playing at home. Ayrshire Bulls Watsonians, that's the top of the table clash as such.
Watsonians will be looking to take that form they've got away as well, won't they?
It's funny, hey, they probably don't want to be too harsh, but they probably want to take the results, never mind the form. I don't think they'll be that happy with how they're playing, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But the elements of it, yes, absolutely. The physicality, the drive, determination, the courage to win, to keep going, and some definite pieces of quality. But I think they'll be looking for better form, although they're top of the league and they've won 3 from 3. So they'll go away on Saturday to Ayrshire Bulls. As I said already, Ayrshire Bulls are improving from their first week. It just looked a wee bit I don't know, just it didn't look like themselves on that opening weekend. Again, I think it was 4 yellow cards, which is a knock-on effect. 3 or 4 yellow cards certainly for Bulls that day. So get these bits of discipline sorted. That'll be another big game. And then I say Boroughmuir Bears Knights, the game we're covering on Scottish Rugby TV on Sunday, and that's, although it's at home for Boroughmuir, that's probably a bigger game for Southern Knights in many ways than it is for Boroughmuir. Yeah,
you mentioned it there. If you want to get more information around our coverage for the season, or any information around the Fosrock Super 6, just head over to scottishrugby.org. Thank you once again for listening to the official Scottish Rugby podcast. We'll be back next week with more exclusive content.